Really nice little camp back here. Had a little bit of white noise from whatever that mine is down below, and a fair number of people coming by. Even had some headlamps this morning while I was up working on videos. But I slept like the dead, which decidedly has not been the case a couple of nights here with the altitude issues. You just sit there kind of breathing hard and feeling your pulse pound, which makes it really hard to get any sort of like restful sleep. And not to mention that headache kept me up for a good portion of the night down in Winter Park. I am pretty damn frustrated by all this, especially considering all the experience I have up at altitude. I mean, I practically lived up in the Sierra every weekend, every summer for years and years and years. But there I always had a process where early in the season I would go up and spend time camped up high and would just feel like crap. And then it would kind of help me for the remainder of the season. I mean, look at Jen and I did a trans-Sierra. Well, I did a trans-Southern Sierra trip a couple of years ago. Jen was with me for the first day or two. And both of us, when we were going over 11K, felt like absolute crap. Even Jen, who usually seems to do better, young and all. And the reality there is you're often going up over like a 12K pass and back down. And this route has me up high for a good long period. So is what it is. I have an approach. I'm trying not to feel like I need to hurry. I have a limited amount of time. I may have bent Jen's ear a little bit in Winter Park in my frustration because I tend to really kind of rail against any sort of like limitation holding me back. If you can't tell, all the videos, especially like that day when I was like, oh, I want to go over James Peak. Maybe I shouldn't. I end up editing a lot of that out, hating the videos and getting really behind on edits. It's a little bit after 9 o'clock, which makes this one of the more normal for me days on trail. I was up since about 5:15. But I had a lot of catching up to do since the time in Winter Park. I was not in the best shape and I was struggling to do anything that required the least bit of thinking. Anytime I hit one of these sections where things really aren't going well, not just struggling, because I'm all about the struggle. Long, hard days, hard climbs, stuff like that, I'm fine with. Bad weather, not always the most pleasant, but no problem. I'm talking about when me or Jen are sick on trail, when I'm having foot issues so bad that I can barely, make any progress. And it just seems like things could go bad to the point it could take me off trail. The shoulder issues on the Mississippi are an example of that. Some of the topo foot related issues on the Grand Enchantment Trail. And now whatever's been hitting me through here. And it was the same last year when I had COVID, noro. And I mean, these videos really are just an overgrown hobby that I put way too much effort into. We make zero money off anybody watching, subscribing, liking, etc. on YouTube. Biggest benefit we get is just hearing from people how much they enjoy it and getting to meet new awesome people. We do have a Patreon, which is completely voluntary, and we absolutely adore those folks, and the money they give us does help offset costs. But as far as if I didn't make a video for the last couple of days, there is no kind of monetary anything that pushes me to do it. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, damn it, and I'm going to stick to it. And the main goal of these videos from the get-go was to have something to look back on. And as a part of that, I want to capture what the trail was really like for me, not the kind of idealized picture I see a lot in social media and a lot of the other videos. I may constantly have music running through my head. It's all copyright, so I couldn't put it on the video anyway. But the videos that just kind of show pretty terrain and people running around to music don't really capture kind of the gritty feel to me again. Today is all about the setup for Grays, which is the high point of the trail in over 14. So I've got about a 17 to 20 mile day, which should be okay. Big long climb up to 13,000, up along that ridge. By the way, that road over there is where the Silverthorn alt starts. And if I was doing that, I would aim for that last night. So trail goes over 13 again, because of course it does. Then there's a big long descent. Didn't feel the need to start super early because of that. And goal is, like I said, just get as close to the Grays trailhead as is reasonable. Manage whatever altitude symptoms I may be having, and then try and push over tomorrow. If I can't cross tomorrow for whatever reason, it does look like there's a big storm that would be a blocker the day after. There are ways around the high country here. I have seen so many friends do the CDT, and you know, there's the Grand Divide Bike Trail and a bunch of other things you can use to get around this. I just wanted to see the red line, but if things are too delayed, there is a point where I'll just start taking those alts, or I have a continuous footpath from Glacier down to Salida. So if the altitude was really, really getting to me, that was kind of my backup plan. Just jump down there and keep going. That's the crummy part of being driven to redline due to my own neuroses and goals. I'll be damned if I'm going to give up based on that. Versus if I was just feeling like obligated because of the videos or something else, I'm sure there'd be a much lower bar where I'd be like, this ain't worth it. See you down the trail. Jen has been having to reassure me on my whole timetable, because I'm just wired once I'm on trail. There's a weather window, gotta go. And you never know when that weather window is gonna hit. I'm not really worried about being blocked in New Mexico so much as the San Juans, but part of me just sees days ticking away and worries, am I getting too far behind? Because while Rocky Mountain and Grays, I wanted to do the red line, the San Juans instead of the Creed shortcut was the biggie, and also hoping to do the Black Range instead of the Gila. And I know there's going to be somebody who just started watching these for the first time who's going to comment about how the Gila is so much better. Nobody does the Black Range. Almost nobody out there. And I spent a good while on the Gila, including the forks that the CDT does not cross this spring on the Grand Enchantment Trail. Obviously, once I'm in the desert, that does have a much longer season. It gets miserably cold, but there you go. I have seen people finish the CDT in mid to late November, and that is still within my time window. We don't have anything set back in Orange County that needs me until late November. I think I just have enough experience with all the things that can go wrong on these, especially for me, to never feel comfortable with the schedule, no matter how much fudge and spare time I think I have. I just keep telling myself, once I'm off of the uber high country and into a little more regular terrain, I should be able to speed up quite a bit. I've actually been doing better fitness and leg-wise than I feared. It could always be better, but hey, I'm in my 40s. Only way to do better on some of that, I think, is have done this 20 years ago. The minor discomfort carrying the pack, the legs kind of waking up, stuff like that. That's all to be expected. Normally I get through those during the warm-up trips, so by the time I start the actual trail, I can kind of hit the ground running and be enjoying it a little more. And that wasn't an option here, and I knew I was starting at the most brutal part of this entire bloody trail. Which again, tagline for the CDT that I've always heard is, embrace the brutality. Versus the PCT, embrace the suck, because, and the AT, I don't know. Embrace the hostels, slack packing, something like that. No rain, no main, no rain, no main. If you see brown fuzzy things running around, it's just marmots. They're also the ones that give the sharp little chirps of warning. There's one. Jen loves them because they look huggable. It is easier and more entertaining editing videos sometimes when Jen is here, because whenever she giggles on camera, she giggles, in real life, which is always highly entertaining for me, and which is why I include a lot of the stupid things I say in her giggling. If it makes her laugh, it goes in the video, that sort of thing. And I'll often have doubts about whether I'm talking too much, especially after the second or third time going through the same video. And I don't actually enjoy watching or listening to myself on video or anything. I have done 3 or 4 podcasts. I absolutely love doing them. They're a lot of fun. I mean, come on, I get to talk about hikes. Every thru hiker's dream is just to be able to talk about their hikes for like an hour. But can't stomach sitting there and listening to them. But, you know, family enjoys them and says they went pretty well. Oh, this is a bit of a more pleasant morning now that I'm going. My trail name could have easily been something along the lines of talks too much, other than I have run across a couple of people with that, and I have this peeve about trail names that are a bit too common, which is really hard these days when everybody and their brother seems to be out doing long trails. Jen's, for example, I have seen at least 1 or 2 other taters, but it's just people who like to eat potatoes. You know, it's like all the Skittles out there. I eat Skittles a lot too. I love Skittles on the trail. That's not really a defining characteristic for me. Jen's trail name of Tasty Taters is based around a funny story with a deer that ran off with her sports bra. So far more unique. Everything gets shortened out here. If you've got anything that's long, you end up getting called by a shortened version of it. We go by Matt and Jen instead of Jennifer and Matthew, despite that being what our parents call us, because, you know, shorter, easier. And same effect tends to happen with trail names. I know a few people with longer ones, and by like the second month, they were just being referred to by a shortened version or initials. This is why I kind of roll my eyes at, I have seen various rules on, oh, well, you have to get a trail name. Has to be on a trail, has to be on a trail by somebody else that's on the trail. You can only say no to 2 of them, then you have to accept the 3rd. There's been all sorts of bizarre ones. My thought has always been, people that go on about that stuff ain't hiking hard enough. Because I know I sure as hell don't have extra energy to worry about that sort of thing. And not to mention, if you're not the sort that's hiking with a big group, that tends to lead to a lot of very, very generic trail names. Just because people aren't around you enough for all the, funny story sort of things that would lead to kind of those classic trail names people always spout about. When I reached the Appalachian Trail on the ECT, I swear in those first 1,000 miles, I met enough girls, I think they were all women, going by the trail name Pickles. We could have fielded a baseball team with them. Which, hey, at the end of the day, it's whatever makes you happy. But, you see Giggles sign in on the trail register, and you're like, oh, I wonder which one it was. Now, on the AT, we differentiated the Giggles that were around. There was Giggles the Pony Puncher. There was Farmer Giggles, But then you get into, oh, those are too long again. At the end of the day, it's just nice to be able to refer to other people around you on trail without having to specify, oh, no, it's the taters with the purple pack and the pigtails. Yet another advantage of the shorter trails or the lesser done trails like the Grand Enchantment, etc. Even if you have a trail name where there's a lot of others out there, they're probably not on the trail with you, so it doesn't matter. And before anybody starts typing up ugly comments, remember, I'm the idiot out here hiking with the trail name, with the channel name First Church of Damascus, aka horrible as far as getting people to click in on the videos. So, nobody should ever take my advice on any of this. But anyway, that diatribe over. I am out here because I enjoy this. There are always parts of the day which are lovely. Right now is pretty damn nice. And then there are days, sometimes weeks, where things are kind of miserable and you just get through them. But that kind of helps build the tapestry of the overall hike. And that big, complete picture of it is the part of this that I value. That's what I'm out here for. The overall adventure, warts and all. Not just every day is the best day. Hopping along, looking at rainbows and jumping into lakes. I will put my head down and just grind away at most things, but I am enough of a realist and I have enough examples to know there are things that can end a hike. You could twist an ankle and be done in 5 minutes. And considering last year, sickness and timing was what ended a hike that I was bound and determined to finish. That is always bouncing along in the back of my head. And by starting back here, I did break one of the cardinal rules of mountaineering, which is if you're going to do 2 peaks and you've done one of them before, always do the one you haven't done before first, because that way if something goes wrong, you don't have a double on one peak and nothing on another. But hey, never been accused of being the sharpest crayon in the box. And in all honesty, I do think my habit of being goal-oriented on all this outdoor stuff and my general habit of being very aware of time limits and things like that has pushed me to much further heights than I would have done otherwise. I never blame anybody for quitting because their heart's not into it out here. But at the same time, I take a lot of satisfaction and pride out of having pushed through some things. I am still just in constant disbelief that I had feet on the ground at Key West and made it all the way to Nova Scotia. A little wimpy me. It's just as much as I enjoy the more kind of wild feel of the CDT, I have had it hanging over me for a year now. And I'm getting tired of the question, oh, I see you've done all 3, so you've done the Triple Crown. And having to explain, I want this thing done. I got too many damn goals of other trails I want to do. My nightmare is basically that the same sort of thing as last year happens and I get knocked off trail, unable to continue, and I don't finish this again. And I've got to come back again. Just for the record, if I have to come back here, I am going nowhere near Winter Park ever again. I am done with this. I'm really resisting the urge to curse here. My grandmother watches these. Hi, Grandma. But yeah, I never want to be in Winter Park ever again. And I still have Salida to make it past. Something got me noro up there, and I'm suspecting, unless it was just a food bug when I was in town, but my parents ate with me. So I kind of suspect it must have been a water source or something. There's just not that much else that I touch where it could have been transmitted. And noro is something that does not get filtered out with your standard filters. So there's always the chance that it's another water source, or that the water source is still infected. And I really don't want to have to live through that again. Same thing happened at the Lone Star Trail. There's no way we should have got noro out there, but it had to have been some sort of a water source that was just infected. I have used a couple of the filters that can filter out viruses. The reality with those, though, is unless they're needed, which in the continental US they generally are not, if anything, you're probably going to catch noro from like a hostel or something. They don't filter as quickly, and they clog up quicker. I've used the Grail, and I've used the First Need, and I've also used one of the more heavy-duty Sawyers intended to filter pesticides out when I was on the Florida Trail. And yeah, like I said, I own a couple. I use them where needed, but there's a reason why you usually see me with the standard Sawyer, standard quick draw, and if there's no other choice, the Katadyn Be Free. It is really a shame I don't feel this energized and talkative when I'm off trail. Otherwise, I could make so many supplementary videos. I obviously love talking about approach to things, you know, war stories and gear. I have a bunch of them planned. I just have not had a lot of luck trying to record them. I tried a bunch in the campground, and you would not believe how hard it is in Orange County to get away from background noise when you are basically living out of a vehicle. There's a marmot sunning himself on the top of that rock. Taters would be over the moon. I really have hope that after Grays, things are going to be a little more workable. This is right about at 12,000 feet, and obviously things can vary depending on the area, you know, tree line moves, things like that. But there are trees. If I had to, I could run down, get into cover. I could even find a campsite. So that's the sort of terrain I'm more comfortable pushing through versus, you know, okay, there's the ridge up to 13K. And if lightning hits up there, that can be not the best. Have I been up on things like that during lightning storms? Yes. Have I run for my life down slopes when I've been up on things like that during a lightning storm? Also yes. Am I hopefully older and wiser at this point? Yeah, hopefully. I teach a wilderness class in Southern California during the off season. And one of the topics I used to do when we had extra staff and a little extra time at one point was entitled, How to Die Awesome. And it was basically my version of the Safety First lecture. Because if you got to go out, it's really lame to do it doing something so lame where everybody's like, really? He choked on yogurt? Having said that, I do, of course, totally expect to die tripping on the front step after having come back from, Everest or something, because, yeah, the universe just hates me. This is just a downright glorious morning. Part of it is just not having the wind killing me like yesterday. At least for this morning, it is feeling amazing being back in the mountains. I only carry these for the first day or two out of town, but they're some of my favorite snacks along the way, especially in areas where you can't get fresh avocados. When we were in California, we'd just bring an avocado and, split that between us. But these you seem to be able to get pretty much everywhere. There's even a spicy one. Just crossed paths with 2 day hikers who said the weather seemed to be about what I was expecting. I basically camped over there, so I've been making my way here. Looks like there's also somebody with a big pack coming up the ridge there. Okay, 12:05, and I got some rollies for a while right around this altitude. Should be a piece of cake. And that peak at the end will have me over 13. Fun times. Okay, well, that lovely little windy trudge up to 13 something up there is officially where I'm back on new trail. I took this road here down to Silverthorne, and then you go up that drainage, which is spectacularly beautiful. I would totally do that route again if I had to pick, but gold! Gotta love Colorado's habit of putting drivable trailheads up above 12,000 feet. That's what I should have done to get acclimated. Drive the Jeep up and spend a couple of nights. Oh man, I could do without this wind. Died off for a second, so I'm recording this, but it's been knock you over bad. Managed to find a rock to hide behind and answer some messages. And it was nice just to get away from it. All fired up thinking I was going up and over that. Turns out this is my 13er. Go up and looks like drop down the far side. Oh well, maybe next time. Okay. Oh, I think that might be gray in the background. It's going to be a butt kicker. So Flora is basically the high point back there. Hell, that one further back might actually be James. And then yeah, I went down into Winter Park, see those big switchbacks, and then I traversed around to this and came up this ridgeline. 13,200 again. And it'd be nice if it started feeling a little easier, but well, altitude's always a struggle. Good news, I've got 9-10 miles downhill, and then I think I start headed up to get set up for Gray in the morning. Gray and Edward. It is funny how much more kind of happy and content I am on trail I haven't seen. Even when it's a section I like, there's just something about repeating trail where it's like, oh yeah, and then that, and then that, and then that. And I always, in my mind, I'm thinking ahead to where I'm going, what's ahead. Versus here, it's just kind of like, yeah, whatever's around every corner. Moose. They are really cool to see as long as they are not up close. You don't realize how massive they are until you're staring up at one. That's funny. I didn't realize it, but this is a trailhead we stopped by on the way to the CDT last year. Right around when I lost my green fleece that I just loved. Okay, short end of the road section, and then it's back up and as close to graze as possible.
I just set it up last night and it was like a teepee.
Yeah, old chimney. That actually went fast. I ran across Gorf and Little Shark, so we've just been chatting along. Turns out Gorf was actually on the AT same year as me, though she was flip-flopping, so we may have crossed paths in the night. So once I got down to that trailhead, it was actually a bike path dropping here. Now this is kind of the start of the climb up to graze. It goes a couple of miles up to a trailhead. It's 640, so I'm not making it that far. But I want to try and get up high enough where I can find water and a nice private campsite. This has actually been a really good day all around. As always, would have liked more miles, but these 13ers are kicking the crap out of me. So it's a little after 7. I was making good progress up that road to graze, and there were a couple of campsites, but there was also a lot of traffic. I came over here when what appears to be some old mining ruins, and I'm just dropping down a couple hundred feet to get water because I didn't fill up below. I'll probably just camp here, have a quieter night, get started early-ish. You'd think somebody would have tried this, but all the comments are just complaining about the noise. Granted, I do hate staying in these campsites that have trash in the fire pit. Seems like I'm just asking for a bear or something. But ooh, this is nice. Well, certainly beats listening to cars for half the night. So considering it was Friday night and the amount of vehicles coming by, I figured it was a good thing to get off the road, and seems to have paid off. I can smell campfire smoke, but I seem to have found a little corner that is walk-in only with nobody else here. Today was honestly my best day since getting back on trail. Finally seemed to click at least a little bit. Tomorrow's going to be rough, and I really need to start early, and I hate starting early. We'll see. Probably set my alarm for 4 and get moving while it's still dark a little bit, but no need to go super crazy. I'm just going up and over, not going to screw with the Argentine spine or anything like that. So, home sweet home. It's still early in the trip. You know how I can tell? I can smell how horrible I smell. Generally, you get so used to that, you don't even smell the stink around your pits and whatnot.